There is always a right and wrong. It is 100% black and white. The people that are talking about this gray area is denial. I put up a post on Instagram, and the post actually says, there's always a choice. The question is, can you live with the consequences of your choice? And my statement below was, there's a right and a wrong choice for every decision. And you know what each one is. So if you make a bad decision, it was your choice to make that bad decision. Everything is your fault. Once you come to realize this and stop blaming other people and things, you start making the right choices more and more, and then making better decisions in general, doing better. There is no gray area. Doing the right thing, I'd say at least half the time, is the harder thing to do. There's more that comes with it. It is not the easy decision. It is harder for you to do. It boggles my mind how people can't see there is a right and wrong decision. I remember having a discussion with somebody who was very close to me in my life and said, well, who says that life has to be like this? And, what's right for you is not right for someone else. Listen, we can sit down and argue all day long. If you are in a situation, I can tell you to your face, there's a right and a wrong decision to make. There's a fork in the road at every decision. That's why it's called a decision. There is no gray area. There's just not. I would love to hear the examples. I would love for you to give me an example of a gray area. A gray area is marijuana. Marijuana, I smoke it because, it helps me with this, helps me with that. It shouldn't be illegal, but it's illegal. There's a right and wrong thing. You purchase marijuana illegally, you are breaking the law. It is the wrong decision to do. If you don't, that is the right thing to do, period. If you make the wrong decision, just own up to it, period. I want to answer this Vera DeMilo is his name. He's on my Instagram, and I put up the video about gray areas, and he actually posted on here because he wanted to prove me wrong that there's a gray area. And Velo, you are not going to like what I have to say right now, but I'm going to solve your problem from this thing that you openly put on here right now. Again, this is painful and you are not going to like this, but there is a right and wrong, black and white, and you have created a gray. I'm going to show you why you've created a gray. He said he saw the YouTube video. His ex-wife was a drug addict, pills. She got clean but developed all kinds of other mental issues like depression and panic attacks. We have a 5-year-old together and we have been apart nearly his whole life. He was with me 5 days per week, and one day she texted him, this guy, to tell him mommy loves him and that she attempted suicide by overdosing on sleeping pills. She went to rehab for about 4 months. During this time, had a very important decision to make. Go to court and file papers to remove her rights or ride it out and leave the door open for her later. By doing so, put my child and myself at legal risk for endangerment. During her time in rehab, she also said if I were to take our son away, she would go ahead and finish the job, and that's not an idle threat. Go ahead, brave boys, tell me which is not the harder right decision to do, no matter which way. There's a danger, heartbreak, blah, 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 blah. Well, listen, man, here's the problem. You take the parental rights away from her. She does not deserve them, period. That is the right thing to do. Her threatening you to kill herself, to hurt you, is a way of manipulating you and getting you to do what she wants you to do, and she deserves to have her parental rights taken away. Suicide is her decision. It is not based on actions that you do. If you take the kid away and she kills herself, that is her decision. She's already tried to kill herself. So now she knows that is a point that she can manipulate you to get what she wants. You think that kid is gonna grow up, and what's gonna happen from here now that you didn't put her in jail or take the parental rights away, you think that's better for your kid? You think she's gonna suddenly snap out of this, grow out of it, and get better? No, she's manipulating to the fullest. It is affecting your kid, it is affecting you. You sound like you are enabling her. She decides whether she lives or dies, not you. You know how many times I've had an ex-girlfriend or someone in my life say, I'll kill myself. I said, go ahead. Go kill yourself. She is not your responsibility, nor is she any good for your child acting like this. This doesn't go away. What your child is seeing and hearing now that you don't think he is, let me tell you something right now, he is. He's absorbing all of this shit. At least if you took him away from her and took the parental rights away, he could say, my father loved me so much that he got me out of the danger from my mom, who has mental issues, that was not being good to me and for me. Black and white. You get the kid away from her, you file the papers, you do the right thing. This like, woe is me, I don't want to do this, because she may later come back and be better. You know what? Here's how it works. You take the parental rights from her, you say, you want to see the kid? Go get better. You want to kill yourself? Go fucking kill yourself. But I'm taking care of the kid that is my kid, that I'm taking care of, that you're not. Black and white. Make a decision. There's no fucking gray area. We decided to crack someone in the head with a fucking metal bar. There's no gray area, okay? Speeding, fucking theft, fucking, I don't give a shit what it is, how you talk to your fucking wife or your kids. There is no fucking gray areas. There is black, white, right and wrong. Period. I'm making the right or wrong decision, and the wrong decisions have impacts, and the right decisions have impacts. Guys, everything is your fault. Your fault. Everything. Whether you fucking win or lose is your fault. Whether you fucking make money or not is your fault. Whether you have kids or not is your fault. It is all your fault. And until you fucking realize that, take personal responsibility to that, to decide, I'm going to do this and this is the outcome, and you realize that whether you're happy or not, that's your fault.
In the classroom, as a child, I was told again and again that only mammals have fur. Only mammals have hair. This is on the checklist of distinctive features we're supposed to learn. Things that set mammals apart from lizards and so on and so forth. And I challenged my teachers on this time and time again. No, look at a bumblebee. Clearly, insects have hair. Insects have fur. And the reason I was asking this question or raising this objection to my teachers was that I wondered why they would lie about it and why they would insist on this to children, frankly, as if it were a kind of religious truth, when it could be challenged and overturned so simply. Now, it really shows that my teachers were not very erudite or profound people. None of them knew how to handle it. None of them knew how to deal with a little kid pointing out something so obvious as to say, what about the hairs on the back of a bumblebee? If my teachers had been better educated people themselves, they could have said, oh, this is actually a great example of parallel evolution. Molecule by molecule, what developed in insects is not hair. Structurally, functionally, it's the same as hair. But different circumstances for a different species, right? Produced a totally different DNA sequence, assembling molecules in a different way to have the same effect. Over millions and millions of years, like the bumblebee developed something very much the same as fur or hair, but did so entirely separate from, entirely uninfluenced by what we as mammals were doing. In this same way, I look at a guy like Jerry Ward, and I see him as someone who developed some of the same attitudes as myself, some of the same practical philosophy that I live by, but he developed it coming out of a totally different set of circumstances, a completely separate process of evolution. The turning point in Jerry's life was the sudden and unexpected suicide of his best friend. And this is not my interpretation. This is not my analysis. This is not me reading between the lines. This is reading on the lines. Jerry mentioned it frequently in many videos, in many contexts. He had this good friend for many years, and with no warning, without a word of complaint leading up to it, this guy who had seemed so happy, this guy who seemed to have it all, committed suicide by hanging alone in his attic. And Jerry reacted to this by embracing a peculiar kind of interventionist philosophy. I remember him saying to his audience so passionately, if you care about someone, if you have something to tell them that's going to change their life, tell them today. Stop watching this YouTube video right now. Stop making excuses. Don't be a coward. Reach out to them and let them know today. If you love someone, don't wait. You could die in a car accident on the highway. He's really said this. He said it about himself. He described picking up the phone and telling the woman he was in love with that he loved her and wanted to spend the rest of his life with her, and that he did it precisely because he was haunted by this awareness of his friend who committed suicide, the friend he'd never get to speak to again, the friend who in some sense he had the chance to save. He reached out to everybody. He reached out to complete strangers in his audience, people who just had a few messages back and forth with him on Instagram. He was trying to save them as individuals. He was, in his way, trying to save the world. But as we all know, Jerry couldn't save himself. There were many differences between me and Jerry. The similarities, to me, are striking. When I watch a video like that, I see certain qualities that don't bother me, but probably the vast majority of people hate and fear about me. And I'm like that all the time. You know, I reach out to people, I try to help them, I try to change them. And when I know that my words can't help, when I know that they won't change, I say, look, don't act like I haven't told you. Don't act like I didn't take the time to let you know. And in some cases, what I'm letting people know really is the difference between life and death. In my life, there's been very little gap between theory and practice. The philosophy I preach is the philosophy I live by. What I know changes how I feel, and then what I feel changes how I act, changes how I live from day to day, immediately. I've heard Jerry say on camera so many times that he agrees with veganism in principle, that he agrees with the ethics of the animal rights movement, that he feels animals shouldn't suffer and die just to feed him, just to produce milk, just to produce eggs. I've seen him argue forward and backward about the importance of eliminating saturated fat from your diet, eliminating cholesterol from your diet. And I've heard him get into the details of various other aspects of his own drug use, including caffeine, that put him at risk of cardiac arrest, cardiac failure, as he was in his 40s. I've heard him say all those things, and I've seen him with great passion reach out to his audience, reach out to people like you to try to change your minds. But he couldn't change his own mind. He couldn't change his own diet. He couldn't change his own lifestyle. Not even when he knew it really was his life that was on the line.